Welcome to the Teacher's Guide to Best Tiered Instruction. This video will focus on Grade 4, Benchmark NSO 1.3, which is to plot, order, and compare multi-digit whole numbers up to 1 million. Please keep in mind that this work has started since kindergarten. Students have been exposed to many different varieties, including a number line, and will continue that work this year. Start by plotting and ordering numbers. Here we start with hundreds numbers. Discuss what two endpoints they want to use for their number line, given the numbers that you have provided. Then I use counters to help students understand what plot means. Plot simply means to place on the number line. Once students place it using their thinking, then they label the plot. As students are placing, we also have the discussion about the halfway. Once they know what 100 to start at, we talk about if it's halfway or more than halfway. After plotting, students then can put the numbers in order, using the terminology ascending and descending, and relate it to least to greatest and greatest to least. Notice how these numbers all have the same digits, they're just in different orders. Then we increase by giving them 4-digit numbers. Still discussing what the endpoint should be. Having students plot it, thinking about that halfway or midpoint. Again, the numbers given have the same digits, just in different order. This really lets students pay attention to the place values that the digits are in to help them plot it on the number line. You can either use an open number line and have students label it, or you can provide a scaled number line and have students label it. If students need further scaffolding, we can include a place value chart. Here, we're not using a number line for number sense, but we're using the value that digits have in their place values to determine which number is the least and which number is the greatest. Here, helping students look at the largest place value to start comparing numbers and using cards such as less than or greater than to have the conversation about is 1 less than or greater than 4,000. Once students have placed a number, then we go ahead and get rid of it from our options. Now we're looking for the number that belongs at the end in this ascending order. As we move into comparing numbers, it's important that we start with are the numbers equal to each other or the same as or not equal to, and that will lead to the less than or greater than label. So here we're given two numbers and we always read the sentence from left to right just like in reading so that we don't confuse students as we're reinforcing the symbols that they're going to use. So by creating a sentence stem of is 895 less than or greater than 3,982, that lends itself to understanding if students know how to compare them, and then we can work on placing the symbol. Sometimes students will often compare numbers using the ones place because a lot of our procedures start with adding ones together or subtracting ones or doing something with the ones. But when we're comparing numbers, we want to remind students we're looking at the biggest place value. So in this example, I have 100 and I have 1,000's number. To reinforce the symbol of which one I'm going to use, I relate it back to a number line with the end arrows. Another strategy to help students, again, reinforce that we don't start with the ones place in comparing numbers is bringing back that place value chart. Having students put both numbers in the place value chart so that they can see that one of my numbers only goes to the hundreds place, but the other number has thousands place, which I know is greater than hundreds. So then therefore I would say 800 is less than 1,000. Here we've given students that have the same digits, but some of those digits are in a different order. Once students have identified these numbers are not equal, they should spot the difference. But to really help bring it out, we use grid paper to help them understand I'm going from the biggest place value to start comparing. So when my digits are the same, that means I go to the next place value that's smaller until they're different. So here we have an 8 and a 1 in the tens place. So while we pull that out from expanded form, I'm really comparing the 80 versus the 10. So is 80 less than or greater than 10? And when it's greater, that means that this number is automatically greater than the other number. Again, reinforcing which symbol to use, I'm going to think of that number line, and the greater numbers are usually located further on the right, so therefore that is my greater symbol. To also help students with this understanding of greater or less, we can relate it to height on a vertical number line. So here I've given students 3 numbers. They all have the same digits, just in different orders. We have those same discussions just like we did when it was horizontal. But now it's almost easier to understand why we say something is greater or less, because it's either higher on the number line or it's lower on the number line. And students really understand that. Once students plot it, I have them label it to the right side of the number line, and then I provide them with the comparison sentence stems they can fill in, which allows for that flexibility, as well as understanding that there's more than one sentence that could make it true. If they can't make a sentence work, no problem, they just put an X on it. Then you could also lead students in the discussion of you pick a number or create a number that would make the sentence true. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned some new tricks that we tools that you can utilize with students to each other to really make sure that we land this correctly before moving into decimals. If you have any feedback or comments, feel free to share.